Hello, I'm Malcolm Cox, and this is your Tuesday teaching tip. Last week we were in my shed. This week we're in my garage. Why? Well, I'll reveal that in just a moment. The previous set of teaching tips were about how to prepare a message from the Bible, how to dig into the Bible and get what we need to share with others. But this series is different. Last week we talked about being a window to the text. This week we're talking about being a torch to the text. We want people to look at this, don't we? We want people to remember this. There are many things in my garage here I could show you. There are some bicycles, there are some cupboards, there are some garden tools. But I don't want you to look at that. I don't want you to look at the periphery and the outside things. In fact, I don't really want the congregation to look at me too much. They don't really want to, do they? No. I want them to look at the Word, at the Bible, at the wonderful things in here. And don't all preachers and teachers and people who have the opportunity to share the Word with people, don't we all want people to look at this, to see how marvelous it is, to see what truths are there, what jewels are there, what amazing things are there? So how do we do that? Well, what we do is once we've figured out what we think is in here, we then come to the congregation and we have a choice. We either show them what's in here, or we tell them what's in here. It's not uncommon for someone who's preaching the Word to, first of all, open their Bible and read. And they'll read a passage like the passage we've been focused on in Matthew 8, with the cost of following Jesus, followed by him calming the storm. And they'll read it, then they'll close the book, and it's like the light has gone off. Now that the speaker or preacher is just telling the congregation what they know. It's not show anymore, it's tell. Now, show and tell is something you may have experienced in a classroom, at school, and when you were a child, and that's okay, it's got its place. But we want people to remember this, the Bible. We want to have them focused on it, to get their joy from it, to get their inspiration from it, and not from us, because we're weak and God uses us to communicate his word, but we don't want them to be remembering us. We want them at the end of all this to be remembering what's in here. We want to be the torch that reveals the wonderful things in here. So how do we do that? How do we lift this high? How do we make sure that this is what is shown to the congregation and is remembered by the congregation? Well, let me say that I think today I have 5 simple tips for you. Number 1, read the text slowly. Read it slowly. What's the difference between these two examples? When Jesus saw the crowd around him, he gave orders to cross to the other side of the lake. Then a teacher of the law came to him and said, "Teacher, I will follow you wherever you go." Jesus replied, "Foxes have dens and birds of the air have nests, but the Son of Man has no place to lay his head." Okay, it's quite tiring. But what's the difference with this? When Jesus saw the crowd around him, he gave orders to cross to the other side of the lake. Then a teacher of the law came to him and said, "Teacher, I will follow you wherever you go." Jesus replied, "Foxes have dens, and birds have nests, but the Son of Man has no place to lay his head." What's the difference? Well, you let me know in the comments at the bottom of this video. But I think the second reading is not only more dramatic, it's just slower, it's more reverent, it's more meaningful, because we're talking about the text. So the first thing we can do that shows people the text, that where we can be a torch, is read slowly. Number 2 is to ask questions of the text with the group there. Now, when you've been studying it, you have also yourself been asking questions of the text. Why is that there? Why did he say this? Why did he go there? And so on. But then we need to invite the congregation to ask the questions with us. We're helping them to do essentially Bible study together with us. So we might ask questions of the congregation. Now, maybe they're questions we want an answer for, or maybe they're rhetorical questions, but nonetheless, asking questions helps the congregation to think. And if they think, they're more likely to remember what's in here. And so we might ask a question like, one of the men said, "First let me go and bury my father." And Jesus said, "Follow me, let the dead bury their own dead." What's that about? How can the dead bury their own dead? What is Jesus talking about? Let the dead bury their own dead? That sounds rather odd. Another question you can ask of this text is, why is he asleep? Why is Jesus asleep in the boat? There's a storm. They're going to get drowned. I mean, the boat is being overwhelmed by the wind and the waves. Why is he asleep? Why do they have to wake him up? Doesn't that show a lack of concern? Again, maybe you want an answer from the congregation, the audience. maybe it's rhetorical. Then you say, I'm not sure, but I think it could be because of this. Then they're in the process of discovery with you, and again, it is the text that is king. The text is what they remember. I hope we become a torch. Number three is to go back to the text regularly while you're preaching your lesson. So, for example, you might have made a point, and you go back and you say, just like Jesus said, let the dead bury their own dead. And you go back and you pick up the Bible and you read that. Let the dead bury their own dead. Don't just refer to it or paraphrase it, but read it again. So the Bible's over here. You're making your point, and then you bring it back front and center and say, what did Jesus say? Use your finger, point at the bit. Let the dead bury their own dead. And then you might come back and say later, a point perhaps on faith. What did Jesus say to his disciples when they lacked faith? What did they say? And you bring the Bible back. What did he say? You of little faith, why are you so afraid? Read the phrase. Go back to the text through the sermon. Don't just read it, put it on one side, and then tell everybody what it's all about. No. Tell them some things, give them some information, give them some ways to apply it, but keep coming back and repeating phrases from the text. That will help them to come back themselves into the text. As you read it to them, hopefully they're picking up their Bible and checking and saying, look, that is what it says. You of little faith, why are you so afraid? It makes such a big difference if we read phrases. Tip number 4, so that we're a torch. How can we be a torch? Well, I think one of the big ways is to actually have a physical Bible to preach from. Now, I'm not against technology. I have Bibles on my phone, my iPad, and all kinds of devices, and I'm a fan of those. I think they're great for Bible study, for research, and a lot of things. And sometimes if you're stuck and you're out and you just need to bring out your Bible, you can use that. That's fine. But I'm a big fan, when we preach and teach, of having a physical Bible with you. Why? And this is not a law, but why I think it's important is because then it directs people to something that they can see. They know you're committed to the text, that it matters to you because you physically got it in front of you and you are pointing to it, you're holding it up, you're reading it, you're going into it. Maybe they're going into their Bible, your head goes down into yours, their head goes down into theirs, or perhaps to the screen. But at least I think having something physical there indicates that it's important to you. And again, we become in that way a torch to the Bible. That's tip number 4. Tip number 5. Tip number 5 is to repeat key phrases in the text. For example, I think one of the key phrases in this text in Matthew 8:18 to 27 is, what kind of man is this? It's one of the last phrases of this passage in verse 27. When the disciples begin to realize this is someone a little bit different, even the wind and the waves obey him. What kind of man is this? It's the climax to the whole of this passage. What kind of man is this? That might even be the title of your lesson. But as we go through, maybe that's the question we keep asking the congregation. What kind of man is this? What kind of man would tell a man to let the dead bury their own dead? He didn't have to go to his father's funeral. What kind of man would tell somebody, I don't even know where I'm sleeping tonight. Are you sure you want to follow me? What kind of man is this that will sleep even during a storm when all the disciples are afraid and could get drowned? What kind of man is this that can calm the wind and the waves? What kind of man is this? And again, as we repeat a phrase of the text, we're showing people the text. We're pointing back to the text. We're saying this is what's important. We are being a torch to the Word of God. So, there you have 5 tips for how to be a torch and lift up the Bible and show them the Bible so that they will get their strength from the Bible and they will hopefully remember what's been taught from the Bible, and it will feed them through the next few days, the next week, or however long until the next lesson comes along. We've had 5 simple things. I want to know from you. I'd love to have comments on the page here from you as to what you think helps us to show people the Bible, helps us to show the text to the people we're speaking to, so that although we're part of the process of communicating this, and that's right, how can we make sure that this is what people remember? This is what impresses people. This is what will make all the difference, because it is this that changes people's hearts and minds and strengthens their spirit in a way that you and I can't do, but God's Word can. So, show, don't tell, be a torch. Until the next time, I hope you have a wonderful day, and God bless.